A man refused to allow a black sergeant to sit in his first-class seat, but she gave him a surprising response. Sergeant Leah Matthias had endured a long and exhausting journey, both physically and emotionally. After months on an overseas mission, she was finally returning home. The toll of military life had left her drained, and as she walked through the airport with her heavy backpack on her shoulders, her only wish was to rest for a while. Leah was in uniform, wearing her olive green fatigues, already worn from the harsh conditions she had faced. The marks on her face told stories of the hardships she had overcome, the endless nights, and the friends she had lost along the way. Yet, she maintained a dignified and quiet demeanor, something that always defined her. When she boarded the plane, she was surprised to find that her seat was in first class. The airline had likely upgraded her ticket in recognition of her service. Although grateful, Leah felt a bit out of place, especially as she sat among first-class passengers dressed in expensive clothes and suits. Just as she began to relax, a man approached her. His expression alternated between irritation and disbelief. Well-dressed and with an air of superiority, he said, "Excuse me, I think you're in the wrong seat. This is my place." Leah, still confused, showed him her ticket and calmly replied, "I believe there's been a mistake." "This is my seat," the man said, glancing at Leah's ticket and then back at her with a disdainful smile. "There must be some mistake. You're military, your place is in economy class, not here in first class." Leah felt a mix of embarrassment and anger rising inside her. She had faced prejudice before, but it never stopped hurting. Trying to stay calm, she took a deep breath and responded, "I'm sorry, sir, but this is the seat I was given." The man shook his head in disbelief, muttering, "Unbelievable." He looked around as if expecting other passengers to back him up. "You shouldn't be here," he added, with a tone of superiority. Leah was at a loss for words, feeling the weight of the other passengers' gazes. Some seemed curious, others critical. She was about to offer her seat to avoid further trouble when a flight attendant appeared. "Is everything all right here?" the flight attendant asked, politely but firmly. The man quickly explained the situation, but the flight attendant simply smiled at Leah. "Sergeant Matthias, your seat is indeed in first class. Thank you for your service," she said, turning to the man. "Sir, your seat is in row 5A, a little further back." The man was visibly embarrassed, but instead of apologizing, he grumbled and returned to his seat, still irritated. Leah felt a mixture of relief and frustration as she settled back into her seat. Though she wanted to forget the incident, it continued to linger in her mind, unsettling her as the flight took off. Before we continue, if you believe everyone deserves respect, regardless of skin color, like this video and subscribe to the channel. As the plane ascended into the sky, Leah began reflecting on her time in the military. She thought about the sacrifices made by her and her fellow soldiers, the lives lost, and the bonds formed over the years. She also pondered the prejudice she faced, both in and out of uniform, and how it still affected her. It wasn't just the man's words that hurt her, but the painful reminder that despite all the services she had rendered to her country, some people still saw her as inferior. It was an old wound that, though healed, had never fully disappeared. As the flight progressed, Leah couldn't shake the discomfort. She noticed that the man was still looking at her from his seat, with a disdainful expression. It was clear he was still brooding over what had happened, which only added to her unease. However, Leah decided she wouldn't let it ruin her trip home. She had overcome far greater challenges and wouldn't allow one stranger's prejudice to spoil her moment. Determined to end the situation differently, Leah took a small notepad from her bag and began to write. It was a simple message, but she hoped it would convey what she felt. Dear Sir, I understand there was a misunderstanding earlier, and I would like to take this moment to address it. I take great pride in serving my country and having had the opportunity to protect the freedoms we all enjoy. I have seen firsthand the cost of those freedoms, and I carry with me the memories of those who did not make it home. I hope that, one day, we can see beyond our differences and focus on the humanity we share. In the end, we are more alike than different, and kindness is something we can all offer one another. Sincerely, Sergeant Leah Matthias. Leah folded the note carefully and called the flight attendant, asking her to deliver it to the man. The attendant, who had witnessed the earlier incident, smiled and took the note. Leah watched as the man received it, surprised. As he opened the message, his expression changed from confusion to something deeper. Although Leah couldn't quite define what he was feeling, she hoped her words had sparked some reflection. For the rest of the flight, the man avoided looking at Leah. He seemed lost in his own thoughts, rereading the notes several times. Leah didn't expect a response but felt relieved for choosing a path of dignity. As the plane began to land, Leah prepared to disembark, ready to leave the incident behind and focus on the joy of reuniting with her family. However, as she stood to retrieve her luggage, the man approached. He seemed different, more humble, almost regretful. Holding the note in his hand, he hesitated for a moment, unsure of what to say. Sergeant Matthias, he began, his voice now softer. I wanted to thank you for the note, it really made me think. Leah nodded, waiting for him to continue. I realized I was wrong earlier, he admitted, glancing down at the floor. I made unfair assumptions about you, based solely on my own prejudices. I'm truly sorry. Leah could see the sincerity in his eyes, which softened her heart. Thank you, she responded calmly. It takes courage to recognize when we're wrong. The man paused for a moment and then extended his hand. My name is David, he said. I want you to know that I'm grateful for your service. I lost my brother in a military operation a few years ago, in a far-off place. He was a soldier too. I think seeing you brought up a lot of emotions that I didn't know how to handle. Leah felt a wave of empathy as she shook his hand. I'm sorry for your loss, she replied with genuine compassion. It's never easy to lose someone we love, especially in the line of duty. David nodded, his eyes welling up. Thank you, he whispered, and thank you for reminding me that we're all in this together. As they exited the plane, Leah and David walked side by side, two strangers who, in an unexpected moment, found a connection. The note Leah had written had built a bridge between them, allowing them to see each other not as adversaries, but as fellow human beings. When they reached the gate, David turned to Leah one last time. If you ever need anything, please don't hesitate to reach out, he said, handing her a business card. And take care of yourself, he added. Leah smiled and put the card in her pocket. I will, don't worry. You take care too, David replied, watching her as she walked away. Leah felt a sense of calm wash over her. What had started as a tense encounter had ended in mutual understanding and respect. It reminded her that even in moments of conflict, there was always the possibility for growth and connection. With a renewed sense of hope, Leah left the airport. She knew the challenges would continue, but also that there were people like David, willing to learn, change, and come together in the name of kindness and compassion. And that, she realized, was something worth fighting for. And you, have you ever experienced moments of connection that helped break down barriers with someone else? Share your story in the comments, we'd love to hear it. Leave a like, subscribe to the channel, and hit the bell so you don't miss any of our stories.